And Bruce forewarned me about that. I've listened to that. I've read that. I've already cried tears of joy for that. Did you notice the refrain? When will it happen? When will it happen? When will I? It's the switch there, right? When will I basically allow it to happen? That really is the why of Christmas, isn't it? When will I allow it to happen? God is weaving a great tapestry, a masterful quilt. The most incredible, amazing, wonderful story ever to be told, ever to be heard, ever to be felt. And we are a part of it. When will I say yes? When will I allow it to happen? When will I fully grow into my role in this drama? Everything your staff and I have been doing over the last couple of months have been all about this. And so today, we ask, why Mary? My better half, Jen, and I met at 26, got married at 27, had our first of 3 children, Josh, at 30. I can feel, it's palatable. I can feel the overflowing love and confidence with which we entered into marriage and parenthood. Jen and I had dreamt our entire lives of parenthood. And Jen being a NICU nurse and me being a therapist, heading for seminary, we thought that if our kids got sick, physically, mentally, spiritually, we had all the bases covered. As far as our family is concerned, I thought the sun came up just to hear me crow. And if you didn't get that, think about it. Or just trust me. It's funny. I thought the sun came up just to hear me crow. Don't get me wrong, like many of you, Jen and I are blessed light years beyond what anyone deserves. But let me tell you, for someone who has done 1,000 hours of clinical supervised counseling, 1/4 of which were marital, as one who has taught so many parenting classes, it would make your head spin. And just as each and every reasonably sane parent out there will tell you, it is scary how ill-prepared we all are for marriage and parenting. I mean, we do more preparations and take more tests to drive a car or to fly a drone than we do to get married or to partake in arguably the most godly act we ever get to do on earth, having and raising children. I think you'll agree that when we sit down and really think about it, it is downright miraculous that the human race has survived at all. Agreed? Now, I'd like to take you on a trip down memory lane. Let's go back to 8th grade. You were big guys or big girls in the junior high or in the middle school. And you either slept through or giggled through health ed class. Your parents were absolutely positively the oddest, most embarrassing creatures on the face of the planet who could do nothing right. You were smarter than them, and they were so 2019. You quantum leaped back and forth between being very aware of yourself or bouncing off the walls emotionally. You thought you'd be better off without your parents, especially if it meant you could be with your friends. But looking back on it, the only thing that you could cook was mac and cheese. And you couldn't balance a checkbook to save your life because you had no job. And the only bank that you ever known and ever knew was First National Bank of mother and father. In sum, you were dangerously somewhere between being an adult and still wanting to sit on Santa's lap to ask for that gift. Remember those in-between days? Fast forward 10 to 15 years and tell me what you'd think if your 14-year-old daughter told you that she was going to have a baby. And you know that's the only thing she's going to tell you because teenagers do not communicate with their parents about anything. So after pulling teeth and at least thinking 1 or 3 times about threatening to ground them for the rest of their lives, you find out that she was supposedly visited by an angel. And the angel told her or asked her, she can't quite remember, that she was going to get pregnant. But she does remember that she said, "Here I am, Lord." And for a split second, you have that parental pride because she opened up her heart. She let the music sing. She let God in. But then you come back to your senses. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be smelling her breath. I would be checking her pupils. And if I hadn't already, I would search her room from floor to ceiling and every nook and cranny of her phone while the thoughts brewed in my mind, which one of those boys? And let me tell you, that's a really big if I ever come to my senses long enough to actually believe that this was the will of God, I'd be like, okay, why? Why would God choose a girl who was a child to have a child, let alone this child, the Son of God? Why would God hang the whole future of creation on our little girl from a nobody family in a nowhere town? Why wouldn't God pick the daughter of the super rich, like the Koch family, They're locals, aren't they? Or maybe the Walmart family. They're good Presbyterians. Imagine all the good they could do with all that affluence and all of that influence. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. But God didn't. God picked Mary. God picked a nobody from nowhere. So why? Why did God pick Mary? God picked Mary because her son would grow up knowing what it's like to be hungry. Her son would take shape, relying on his family and his faith and his community from time to time as a place to call home. Her son would develop compassion, understanding, and an enduring love for those kept on the outside because they didn't look right, they didn't talk right, they didn't walk right, they didn't think right, they didn't love right. They just weren't right. Her son would learn to heal physical, mental, and spiritual injuries and wounds that are so prevalent in the underserved communities to the point that you have to wonder if our government intentionally does not do something about it. Her son would learn to defend, care, and advocate for the marginalized, the ostracized, the oppressed. Those kicked to the curb of society just because they were not white and not male, just because they were different. Her son would develop the ability to fix the brokenhearted, to mend the lame, to reconcile the most shredded relationships. Her son, by being one of the least of these, grew a heart for the least of these. Her son, for the first 30 years of his life, would live a life that no God would ever live, small g, no God would ever live, because the world needed a God, capital G, God that knew them, that understood them, that loved them. And that in the last 3 years of his earthly life would give himself for them, to the point of crucifixion, to save them from themselves. Friends, why Mary? Because her son would love the world, heal the world, and save the world from itself. Just like that innocent babe wrapped in swaddling cloths will do for you and for me. We need only to allow it to happen. We need only to accept his love. It's always there. Always reaching out for us. Amen? Amen.